Hello everyone, I'm Drake and welcome back to Tiny Bunny. This is the start of episode 3 called On End, the Wolf's Grey Fur Will Stand. So I guess let's get into it. Probably split it into two parts because I am assuming this is going to be a pretty long episode. He's the one who hated Bavarine. You think he did it? I've heard he's a weirdo. I hurriedly rubbed my glasses. Glasses? Semyon was clutching them in his fist while I was getting beaten up, and in just a couple of hours, this lost atom was lying on the ledge of my window. It was hard to imagine that Soma suddenly got guilty conscious and returned my glasses in such a strange way. I was shocked, but kept walking towards the classroom, accompanied by nasty whispers all around me. The photo still stood before my eyes. Semyon has gone missing. Semyon is gone. His fat fingers will never get to my throat. His signet ring won't smash into my chin. He'll never humiliate me again. Wasn't that what I wished for? On the other hand, did I really wish Semyon to become a murky stain on the notice board? He was still someone's son, or a grandson, and he went through the same struggles as me. Did I really wish for my unseen companion to dispatch him in such a brutal fashion? I didn't know the answer, or I was just scared of it. Nonetheless, school still had something nice about it. Polina, the girl with the violin, was like a mountain spring, like well water that you gulped out, pressing your lips against the zinc outer ring of a bucket, and can't ever get enough. Remembering our walk yesterday cooled off my head. Polina's hatred towards dogs, while understandable, was still alarming. Could a charming girl like her really be nesting something so repulsive inside her heart? I immediately remembered my dad's shady past that recently resurfaced. A person I idolized was the reason for us moving to this bleak countryside. At least, he was, according to Mom's screams that were coming from the other side of the wall. Still, Polina tried to defend me from a delinquent gang, even if she failed at it. She was pleading for Romka to leave me alone and gathered my belongings that were strewn around the forest, whilst fighting tears. And then those bastards tried to drag her away. She resisted with all the might she had in her fragile body. In the end, she was the one to find my house, lost among the taiga, and told my dad that I lied there alone in the dark, abandoned in the middle of the forest after the beating. Maybe I'm being too harsh on her. But if I make her one of the characters in the story I'll draw, the protagonist will save her from terrifying monsters. As soon as I thought of monsters, a bunch of my classmates slid down the rails, smirking like the xenomorphs from the Alien. You're telling me a child this age has seen the Alien? I immediately felt larvae of fear writhe in my stomach. I didn't want to cross paths with Romka and Vyasha after what happened yesterday, especially since Semyon suddenly went missing. Polina seemed eager to talk to me, but her expression soured after noticing the aforementioned duo, and she walked past, leaving me with a single sorry look. I entered the classroom and went towards the last row. All of the chatter suddenly died down, so I walked there in complete silence. It felt like my classmates pushed and poked me with their stares. They carefully observed my every move. They looked at me with a mortifying mix of pity, ridicule, and derision, like a scientist looks at an ugly representative of a newfound species of worms. I stared at a desk with a huge pile of library textbooks on top, my fists clenched. It felt like I was the one who disappeared in that snowy forest, and my desk was finally used for something worthwhile. Semyon's empty chair stood in front of me. The chair that once belonged to Vova was gathering dust somewhere in another classroom. After a moment of hesitation, I sat down at Baburin's desk, the place where I was supposed to be assigned by Lila Pavlovna at first. The chatter resumed, as if someone just unpaused a movie. Baburin's grandma made such a fuss when he didn't return home. First, she ran to the school, then called the cops. Yes, yes, yes. Katya snuck a cunning glance at me, then leaned into her neighbor and whispered something. Girls from the second row also leaned in and shared something with them too. Whispers, nods. I kept catching her stare on myself. Her neighbor stared too. The whole class was watching me. It was like they felt the need to watch me because they were searching for traces of blood on my fingers. I wanted to defend myself and shout, "Guys, listen, I'm innocent." The delinquents turned around and stared at me in silence. Their looks were dripping with malice. But why? What did I do to them? Their friend went missing, and they're still focused on me. Suddenly I noticed Biasha drilling a hole in my nose with his eyes. Ooh. What happened there? Can I see the history? Oh, okay. Yeah? It felt like he was about to point his finger at me and shout at the top of his lungs, "Everyone look! Baburin snatched his glasses yesterday, and now he has them back. Murderer." But he remained silent, as if there was nothing special at all about my glasses. I may be going mad, but I think Biasha knows something. He knows something, but he won't tell me what. Roma gave me a meaningful glare, as if reminding me of his promise. My aching temple reminded me of it. I needed to stay away from Polina. As if looking for protection, I clutched the ruler until my hand hurt. You don't have to be Columbo to solve this. Who held a grudge against Baburin? Who hit him yesterday? Bullied him, and then... The metal ruler fell out of my weak fingers. It hit the floor with a jingle, and that made the other kings shudder. Katya bit her tongue and squirmed nervously. Chairs scraped against the floor. My classmates moved away from me, closer to the exit towards the teacher's desk. I was not the only one to catch wind of that change. Romka and Biasha looked around and winced in contempt. Damn it again. Too bad they weren't afraid of me like everybody else. Shut it. I betcha Baburin just got a whipping from his old hag and ran off. They'll find him soon. They'll find him, all right. In a ravine with his stomach cut open. I gulped. I imagined Stioma on a snowy blanket, his face white like a fish belly split down the middle by the crevice of his mouth, snowflakes falling on his glossy eyes and filling up his throat. See, I could almost hear his condescending tone. It's all your fault. But why was Semyon the only one who got his just desserts for bullying me? Weren't all of them supposed to disappear? Romka, Biasha, Katya, along with every laughing onlooker. Of course, Semyon did me a favor by disappearing. Thanks to him, my classmates now stared at me in awe. But that was only one side of the coin. What if I'll have to repay that favor soon? The door creaked. Polina entered the classroom. I straightened up in a hurry so she wouldn't see me looking like a scared critter. Polina found me with her eyes, gave me a short nod, and went to her seat. Katya rushed to her neighbors again, like a lab rat that saw a threat, switching her gaze between me and Polina. Messages and pieces of paper started jumping around the classroom. The ringer's trill announced the start of the class. All right, stop messing around. Class, stand up. You too, Petrov. Lila Pavlovna went to her desk, followed by a policeman in a uniform. It was that man that visited us just recently. Tall, and his stare so sharp you could get cut on it. Hello there, kids. Hi. You can sit down, kids. This is Senior Lieutenant, what she said. He's going to ask you a couple of questions and give you a small public service announcement. The class livened up. Talking to a policeman was way better than studying. I, on the other hand, was ready to sit through hundreds of hours of Russian literature just to escape the lieutenant's oppressive stare. His brown eyes felt around the classroom looking for me. Hair stood on the back of my neck and an icicle had lodged in my gut. Is it true that Baburin got killed by a serial killer? Shush, Ekaterina. Let the adults ask questions here. We're all scared. Maybe the killer is somewhere close. Maybe they're even sitting among us. Her sly stare was directed at me. Tikhonov stepped in between the rows of desks and started walking at an excruciatingly slow pace, brushing his fingers against the chairs he passed by. Some of the students almost broke their necks following his movements. That's how a crowd of commoners would gleefully anticipate a public execution in the Middle Ages. And he just walked, getting closer and closer to me. I gritted my teeth to stop myself from screaming. Calm down. Breathe. You didn't kill or kidnap anyone. He already knew the answer to his question, but the policeman still asked in a stern voice. Anton Petrov? Yes. Stand up, Petrov. My muscles turned to stone. I got up, unglued myself from the chair, felt like I could hear all my joints creak in the process. I only wished that Polina wouldn't turn around and see the grimace of horror on my face. If only I could be somewhere far away, in the forest, digging myself into a snow pile, rolling up into a ball there. The officer stared at me, as if he was about to lock a pair of handcuffs on my wrists. I wonder how cold these bracelets are to the touch. I imagined myself getting jailed and put into a juvenile detention center, where tens of Semyons would constantly harass me. I don't know anything, I have nothing to do with this. Nobody's accusing you of anything. For now. Only then I noticed a file that said case number in his hand, had a gray cover, made from a rough carton. It flopped onto the desk like a guillotine blade that slid down on someone's neck. With a measured motion, Tikhonov opened the file, still studying me with his gaze. I caught a glimpse of documents and photos. They showed prints in the snow. They looked like animal prints. Have you talked to Semyon Baburin before? I only knew him for a day. Everyone knows that Petrov hated him. I turned red. You ugly bitch. Whoa, big words, little man. I wanted to sink my teeth into Katya's face and chew out her cheek. Sound very murdery for someone who's not a killer. I replied with the calmest voice I could muster. We had a fight yesterday. But he started it. So I hit him. How hard did you hit him? Not that hard, I mean... I waved my hand indecisively. Tikhonov looked at my fist as if he was surprised that I managed to hit the big kid from the photo. Surprisingly, Lila Pavlovna came to my rescue. Baburin is a trouble teen, a true pain in the rear. Always picking fights with other kids. The officer replied with a meaningful nod and fished out a notebook out of the file. Is this yours? I averted my gaze. It was a math notebook with my name on it. My classmates devoured me greedily with their eyes. It felt like even the writers on the portraits squinted at me in suspicion. Yes, we found it in the forest, in the area where the tractor driver, who was plowing snow there, last saw Baburin. I started blinking in bewilderment. Romka ransacked my school bag. This notebook probably just got lost somewhere in the bushes. The lieutenant knew about the school brawl, but was he aware of the fight in the forest clearing? I had witnesses that could testify to Semyon and I walking in different directions after that. I looked towards the boys, hopeful. Romka, who sat behind Tikhonov, put a finger to his lips. And when the officer quickly turned around, he pretended to pick on his nose. I deciphered his signal. Boys like Romka would probably say something like, "Snitches get stitches" in a situation like this. I frantically fixed my glasses. Wait, Semyon took them away yesterday, but now they're... So what were you doing in the forest yesterday, Anton? I go to school through the forest. It could have easily fallen out of my bag. Easily, just like me producing this half-truth.
Будь осторожнее.
Be careful out there. Before I could realize whether it was a genuine piece of advice or a veiled threat, the teacher said, "Class, the officer will now tell you about some rules you should follow." So the killer does exist. We can't make any of this public for now. Whether the criminal really exists or not, you should be mindful of your safety. The police, your parents, and your teachers all watch over you, but no one guards you better than you yourself. All right, any questions? A stockade of arms rose from the desks. The kids shouted over each other, swarming the policemen with questions. In an attempt to calm down the chorus, he moved towards the blackboard. The gray file was lying in front of me. I stared at it, my breathing so ragged that it might have looked like someone who just ran a 100-meter sprint. Beads of sweat rolled down my back. I looked around the classroom. My classmates were catching the officer's every word. Only Romka was saying something to Byasha. Lila Pavlovna was staring into a window, fighting back yawns. Ooh.
Слишком мало времени прошло с момента исчезновения вашего одноклассника.
Ooh. As soon as I touched the folder, Tikhonov lashed at me with his eyes. My hand instinctively moved away, as if that stare actually hurt. The officer just kept staring at me without saying a word, making me squirm under the weight of this uncomfortable silence, the sneering looks of my classmates. Then he suddenly continued his speech as if nothing ever happened. Should I try again? Fuck. I clanged my teeth from surprise, pushed myself into the back of my chair, blinking in bewilderment. The officer silently gathered the documents and gave me a stern look. Well, aren't you a curious boy, Petrov? Uh-oh. Let me say this again. If you see anyone suspicious in the village, be it near the school or on the forest trail, contact the police immediately. You know our number, right? 02. Thanks for listening, boys and girls. Thank you, Lila Pavlovna. And, we'll find your classmate. Yeah, right, a thought flashed through my mind. Dig through enough ditches and maybe you'll be able to piece them together. Woof. Like Legos. Damn. My thoughts turned evil for some reason and I couldn't control them. I tried to switch to the lieutenant's speech about suspicious individuals. What if I saw the killer before? What if I was a hair's breadth away from them? Suspicious people, How suspicious was the fox girl that wandered into the darkness? A weirdo that always appears out of nowhere and then dissolves into thin air with her riddles and rhymes? Could she really harm the hulking Semyon? Should I tell the officer about her? What if lives of other kids depend on this? Or the cute Ksenia, and Vova too. Wait, what if I get mocked for speaking out? What if they'll start whispering behind my back? Or what's even worse, think that I'm insane? Aramka gave me a stern look over the shoulder. I doubt someone like him would approve of cooperating with the police. Katya's braid dangled nervously behind the delinquents sitting in front of me. My hand was glued to the desk. Tikhonov was saying goodbye to Lila Pavlovna. He was about to leave. It'll be too late soon. How much worse could this possibly get if I actually say something? Though, when I say that there was a kid wearing a fox mask running around, I mean, I don't think that's what the police needs to know. If anything, I should be telling them about, like, mysterious figures around my house in the forest and not the kid wearing a fox mask. So, oof. I mean, the fuck is he gonna do? Kill me? I'm the protagonist. I'll tell him. I unglued my palm from the tabletop. I need to warn him at the very least for Olya's sake, to assure her safety in the house near the squeaky pines. I raised my hand, heavy as a dumbbell. Excuse me? Almost 24 heads turned my way. My teacher, the office's Polina. Katya shoved an elbow into her friend's side. Sleepy Byasha stretched out his neck. Romka frowned inquiringly. I'm listening. It felt like I was being studied under a microscope. Yesterday, when I was walking to school in the morning, I saw an unfamiliar person. My classmates started whispering. Tikhonov frowned, a deep wrinkle adoring the space between his eyebrows. There's no way he'd be able to tell if it was an outsider or a local. He'd just moved to our village. The other kids smirked. Katya flashed an evil smile. Calm down. Can you describe them in more detail, Anton? Then it dawned on me. I can do more than describe them. What I can do, I can draw them. I know how to draw, kind of. After spitting out this confession, I expected everybody to laugh, but that didn't happen. Even Katya stayed silent. Polina tilted her head and studied me with an intrigued look on her face. I was pleased by this wave of attention. It made me feel bolder, so I asked, Do you want me to? Tikhonov slowly nodded. Lila Pavlovna, we'll conduct a bit of an experiment here, all right? Of course, of course. I took out a pen, flattened on a sheet of paper. My classmates stared at me in anticipation. Polina smiled, and it was the best reward I could get for my boldness. Go on, Van Gogh, draw. Ooh. Whoa. What am I gonna do here exactly? I mean, I did see the guy smoking a cigarette, so maybe I should draw him instead of the fox. Yeah, I feel like I should draw that guy. I mean, it certainly looks like someone, just not anyone we would know. Am I really gonna give him a fucking fox drawing? That just seems a little silly, doesn't it? Here. I handed the drawing to the officer. And who might that be? Do you recognize this person, Lila Pavlovna? Is this by any case your arts and crafts teacher? My homeroom teacher squinted, trying to have a close look at my drawing. Oh, sorry, hit the table. What a nasty mug. This must be Petrov's old man. Felt like windows shuddered from all the surrounding laughter. Lila Pavlovna hissed at the class and the commotion died down, but I was already burning at the stake of shame. Case closed, I guess. Tikhonov folded my drawing and threw it into the folder. Well, I'll be going. He left. I don't see what I would have fucking gotten out of drawing a fox mask. This literally feels like all the same dialogue that I would be getting if I did that. Getting called a nut job. Didn't move, just kept staring into space. Lila Pavlovna passed by without looking my way. Polina left after her. My classmates went silent at the same time, as if someone muted the sound on a TV. They followed me with their eyes the whole time I was passing between rows. Judgmental looks. I felt like I was in the scopes of many sniper rifles. I squeezed through the barricade made of desks, looking for Polina. But I stumbled into my new buddies instead. Romka swaggered up to me. Decided to rat us out to the cops? I didn't say anything. But sure as fuck thought about it, eh? Romka towered over me, breathing out a faint smell of tobacco. You're very wrong if you think that without Syoma, you'll have a better time here. You can stop your weird act trying to impress Polina with your doodles or by acting like a loony. We'll make this place hell for you. Got it? See you, Four Eyes. Ah, classic. Such a good insult. My head tilted forward from his slap. What a loser, eh? Have you seen your haircut? Wasn't surprised to find a note stuck to my back during the break that said kick me. My nightmare clearly wasn't about to end. It's been 7 days since the lieutenant visited our class. At first glance, everything was still the same. The forest still held out its gnarly claws toward the village, and the wind whipped up white flags weaved from powdery snow every night. When my parents argued in the other room, I would turn up the TV's volume to silence their muffled voices and sit close to Olya. Vowen's and Semyon's photos were still 2 black spots on the notice board, and round-faced Xenia hasn't returned home, too. But something did change. I could see how different the looks of my classmates were. They met me with a new portion of pokes and insults. Contempt, mockery, and loneliness became my faithful companions. But most importantly, a shadow slid across my desk, leaving behind a mysterious note. I glanced into the space between rows, but the messenger was already nowhere to be found. Who sent me this note? What could this carefully ripped out, neatly folded piece of paper be hiding from me? More threats and humiliation, or... I took the piece of paper and carefully inhaled the wafting aroma. Blackberry. I'll be waiting at the cul-de-sac near the dressing room. Come alone. A message in beautiful handwriting. Drunk on that sudden call, I immediately started walking, looking over my shoulder from time to time, making sure nobody is following me. Even though I suspected it could be another trap set by Robka and Biasha at first, this buzzing thought soon left my mind. The two of them didn't have enough combined brain power to fake Polina's note so carefully. I didn't even notice how I almost broke into a run and jumped around the corner. As soon as I did that, I rammed into somebody inside the dark nook. Ow. Like a magic bird, a green notebook glided to my feet. Polina puffed her cheeks in exaggerated anger. Petrov, have you lost your sight completely? I fixed my glasses. My nearsightedness wasn't that embarrassing anymore. I bent down and picked up the notebook. Sorry, I was in a rush. Were you waiting for me? Did something happen? Polina's attitude changed from fake anger to softness. She stood there silent, probably picking out the right words. She had a worried and sad look in her eyes, as if she'd hoped that I'd continue this conversation and stop us from drowning in this awkward silence. But I didn't say a word. I was just staring at her trembling lips. Finally, Polina heaved a deep sigh and started talking meekly. Anton, tell me, are you mad at me? I couldn't reply before she continued. Of course you are. What's with this stupid question? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen, honest. When Chatifanov, when that abuser kicked the dog, it felt like I wasn't myself, you know? She sniffed, and even though it was already quite dark outside, I could notice her ocean-colored eyes sparkle. I know that it's wrong. It's wrong laughing at animal abuse. I don't even want to think what your opinion of me must be. But I just can't help it, Anton. As soon as I remember Grandpa and the horrors he had to endure on the night he got attacked by that pack of stray dogs, my mind becomes foggy. Polina's notebook in my hand was still waiting for me to return it to its rightful owner, but I just couldn't find the right moment to do that. You probably think I'm crazy, right? She looked at me with hopeful eyes, while I was absent-mindedly going over all the crazy stuff that my subconscious was producing lately. I clearly wasn't qualified to judge someone's sanity. Sometimes I just can't control of myself. But I'd never harm anyone, you hear? Not like that sadist Stromka. Please stay away from him, Anton. Something clicked in my head. I stared at Polina with suspicion. You called him differently a week ago when we were fighting. Romchoka? Say, are you two dating? Polina jolted as if struck by lightning. No way, that asshole is stuck to me like a leech. People like him are not even deterred by direct insults. Oh, are they not brother and sister? Her voice became calmer when she noticed the bruises and cuts on my face. Again, I'm very sorry that happened. Well, I really thought I would be able to help you. It was my mistake to think that bastards like them can have any sort of moral code. Here, I have a present for you. She unbuttoned the top of her jacket and instantly got embarrassed after noticing my stunned look. What? Then she took an amulet on a thick leather thread with a big animal claw off her neck and held it out to me. Grandpa gifted me this charm. He said it helps against crazy and possessed. He got it from a certain shaman. You don't have to believe me, but the tragedy that befell him happened on the only day he forgot to wear it. I snuck another glance at the intensely scratched claw of an unknown beast. And who did it belong to? The claw, I mean. I don't know. A bear or a tiger, maybe? You can find all sorts of animals in our forest. Anyway, please accept it along with my sincere apology. Yeah. Well, this is so important for you. Alright, let's try to start over. I carefully took hold of the amulet with my free hand. It emanated, whatever that means, Polina's warmth, and the charming aroma of blackberry. I hung it around my neck and hid it under the collar of my shirt. Now, am I the only person that has no fucking idea what people mean when they say the smell of a berry? Like, the only berry that has a distinct smell of any sort is a strawberry, I think. I have never smelled a blackberry and thought, ah, yes, the distinct aroma of blackberry. It smells like nothing. It's like water, nothing. Am I wrong? Ooh, Shaman King, achievement unlocked. Along with this gift, I got a weird feeling of determination, as if this amulet would be able to change my life. Polina and I smiled at the same time, both of us feeling the ice wall between us slowly thaw. Thank you, Anton. This really means a lot to me. Polina studied me with her eyes and clicked her tongue. Do you know what you look like, Antasha? Like blues improv. I blinked in bewilderment. What do you mean? I always associate people I know with something. I do that too, but why music? It can't be anything other than music. Some people are like guitar solos, some are drums. People like our Lila Pavlovna are war marches. And you're so thoughtful, so mysterious, sometimes even a bit sad. You're definitely blues. What about the improv part? It's when the listener has no idea where the melody will go, what tempo it will adopt. Of course, some of the things Polina said went completely over my head, but I couldn't stop looking at her smile like a light breeze in May and her eyes deep and blue. One needs to have experience and taste to recognize the music in you. You're not some pop music. I don't think I even know what blues is. Helena gasped and frowned, which made her look even more beautiful. Don't say something like that to my face. I'll make sure to give you a cassette. Grandpa used to bring me so much music from the city. Jazz, swing, classical too. He was the one to notice my musical mindset. When I was still very little, I tried recording the sounds of nature on paper, the songs of the rain and the forest. I wish I had ears like yours. And I'd love to have your eyes. I tensed up, worried that she was making fun of me, but Polina shook her head. No, I'm serious. You have the eyes of an artist. You're so good at picturing things, I can't do that. Katya walked past us with her trademark frosty glare. We drove into the shadows, trying to escape it. You understand why we're hiding here, right? Because of people like her. And what kind of melody is Katya? Polina flashed me a sly smile. The squeaky sound of unoiled door hinges. You know, this nasty descant. I giggled, covering my mouth. Katya didn't hear our whispers, but she suddenly glanced over her shoulder, clearly annoyed. A moment later, she sighed and went her way. I remembered about the notebook I was still clutching in my hand. I turned it in with my hands. Instead of a subject name, the front side had a name of the owners and 2 words, friends only. Curiosity killed the cat, you know. I'm sorry, is this a questionnaire? Have you ever filled one? I lied that I had. In reality, girl classmates from my previous school had never asked me to fill out their questionnaires. It was quite upsetting. We used to do that in school too. They call them questionnaires. We called them more like journals or something. I don't know if you had that, but basically it had like a bunch of rows for you to write your name or like a code name and a number, and then you answered whatever questions the person asked. And it was like, oh, your favorite like musical artist, an actor, an actress, favorite movie, your best friend, and then there were like sometimes folded papers which you would open up and like write in a confession or a secret. It was just like a thing that we did. I don't know, and we would ask each other to fill them out. It was kind of cool. Bonding. I mean, it was a girl hobby. You just answer a set of standard questions about your favorite actors and colors, but entrusting someone with such a notebook was a sign of friendship. That's the one. And maybe if something even more, something I only had a vague idea about. You can fill in mine if you want. My heartbeat quickened. I do, thank you. Polina giggled. Actually, there are so many secrets there. You'd be better off not knowing what we girls think. She reached for the notebook, playing with me. I tossed my finding into my free hand. Polina tried to intercept my move. Her hair briefly touched my face, tickling my nose with its silky locks. I sensed an aroma that immediately filled the whole world. Fragrant, alluring, lively. If only I could picture it, steal it for myself. I felt dizzy, but I gathered myself and spoke in a voice reminiscent of Lieutenant Tikhonov. Your questionnaire is an important piece of evidence, so I'm afraid I'll have to confiscate it for further examination. Paulina covered her mouth that rounded in fake horror. And what are the implications of concealing evidence? We'll decide that in the course of our investigation. I surrender, Mr. Policeman. Just promise you won't read anything. It's full of sensitive information. I'm afraid I'll have to investigate whether someone is in love with Mr. Petrov. Paulina burst out laughing and pressed herself against my chest, showering me with the aroma of her hair and her milky skin that looked almost transparent, with tiny threads and veins running under it. Her whisper was hot like a piece of butter sizzling on a pan. Then swear that you will keep this information private. I swear on my police badge. And now we need to hurry, Antosha. I took out the notebook during class, with utmost care, as if it was some sort of fragile treasure. Skimmed through it, reading into other people's preferences. I was quite surprised to discover Ronka's jerky handwriting inside. His letters bulged out of the cells as if embarrassed by their shapelessness. Fearsome Ronka found time to do something so silly. I chuckled into my fist after I found out that Ronka's favorite cartoon is not even Darkwing Duck, but DuckTales. Somewhere in the distance, a teacher was reciting pieces of Andrew's Snapper. I paid them no mind. Paulina's page was decorated with flowers, drawings, and clippings from Cool Girl magazine. Okay. Her favorite musician is Schubert. Her best friend is her grandpa. Her hobby is not violin like I expected, but a much more mysterious listening. Can such a mundane process really be someone's hobby? I looked at Paulina over the heads of other students. She was focused on taking notes. I flipped the pages until I found a blank and armed myself with a pen. Anton Petrov, Class 6B. Took a long time to decide on my favorite musician until a trendy pop band, Carman, came to mind with cool dancers in their music videos. Favorite holiday? This is easy. New Year's. My hobby is drawing. My dream? Going to Disneyland, I guess. My hero? My hand moved on its own. Writing Dad. I stopped on those two letters. What if those who read this after me will find my answer laughable and stupid? After thinking a bit, I decided that not everything should be disclosed on paper. That's how Da turned into Spider-Man. Spelling was wrong, but who cares? Your biggest fear, huh? Immediately wrote, losing a person who is dear to me. Your phone number? No secret here. Favorite cartoon? Transformers. Nice. And my best friend? I hesitated, gnawing on the pen's cap. Your best friend. I read the question out loud. It was easy, but at the same time very important. My answer consisted of 3 letters, and I filled them in the cells with care. You. Aw. You, I repeated when running out the school. Refreshing frosty air made my cheeks turn beet red. It was bright outside, and the sun looked like a whole egg yolk. The road looked as if it was silvered. The snow sparkled under the sunlight. I smiled, squinting from the blinding whiteness. There was also something magical in my chest that beckoned me, because friendship can grow into something bigger. Hey, what's up with the stupid grin? My numb lips immediately shrank. Byasha was shuffling his feet in the middle of the yard, his boots restless on the ice. It's not a grin. I tried to go around him, to no avail. Lady Fortune waved me goodbye, disappearing in the early twilight. In a hurry, eh? A little bit. Dad is waiting for me. I'll shoot him a pager message that you're not coming, eh? You have a pager? My eye flinched unwittingly, my skin dampened. Let's go, eh? We have small business to discuss. I felt chills run all over my body. I didn't like the sounds of that small business. Those words, accompanied by spitting, normally hid very dark deeds underneath them. Strangers that used to call our old apartment used to say, "Get your old man, we have a small business to discuss." Yasha turned around. He looked like an astronaut in his tight hood. If I were to imagine him as a sound, he'd be a deafening whistle, a signal given by someone who stands watch. To my demise, there was nobody at the backyard. Apart from the grim-faced Dromka. He stood there, his feet wide apart, with his right hand hidden behind his back. Dromka's dry lips were tightly pursed. He kept shooting glances at me as he looked around. From the bottom of my heart, I hoped that Dromka hadn't seen me together with Polina. There he is, eh? I can see that. Hello there, Antosha. What do you want? He slowly took out a thin, carnivorously shiny blade from behind his back. A knife, the steel butterfly of death that flies towards the victim's heartbeat. I stepped back instinctively and ran my back into Byasha. Ramka's minion pushed me back. We wanted to know. Do you have any hard feelings for me or Byasha? Ramka started picking on his yellow nail, looking at me with an evil smirk on his face. Well, there, in the forest, we kinda roughed you up. It's just our poor upbringing, you know. Yeah, not as cultured as you city folk. So we get feisty sometimes. I nodded, my eyes glued to the knife. Say, Antosha, did I by any chance go too hard on you last time? Not really. Wonderful. I almost got worried that I damaged your brain and you forgot about the lesson I taught you. I remember. The blade glowed under the setting sun, and Dromka's eyes had the same evil glow. He stepped toward me. His knife traveled inches away from my coat. One movement and steel would cut into the cloth, and if he pushes deeper... A little bird told us that you were snooping about Polina again. I was so scared it took me a while to remember who Polina was. My brain was malfunctioning, my knees were shaking. Suddenly, our class rep slowly walked up to Rumka from behind. I see, you boys are getting along quite well. I owe you one, Katya. Oh, no need to thank me, Ramchaka. I'm always fighting for true love. Yes, yes, yes. I'll kill you, I swear. I can't hear you. Were you near Polina or not? Well, we didn't hang out or anything. The only thing hanging out here will be your guts when I cut open your stomach. The blade slid across my sleeve with its dull side and reached my collar. The wind made my face cold, but a bead of sweat still trickled from my temple. I guess I need to explain it in a way you'll understand. The split-up handle and the blade spun in a dangerous dance, just like helicopter blades that sweep away everything in their way. I tried to dodge, but after taking a step backward, I slipped and fell on my butt. As if waiting for this opportunity, Polina's amulet lunged from under the collar toward the blade. The leather cord prevented the claw from piercing the assailant's neck, and the charm fell from my chest with a thud. I expected to be cut so badly I'd end up choking on my own blood. But for some reason, Romka just stood there, staring at me. He had his knife ready to cut, but his eyes were fixated on the blade hanging from my neck. He growled something evil under his breath. Polina's gift was driving Romka crazy, but it tied his hands at the same time. pause lasted so unnaturally long, it made Biasha frown in confusion. The sound of a creaking window opening came from above. Pyatiffanov. The rush brought by adrenaline faded away, and the piercing pain escaped my mouth in the form of a pitiful scream. Rumka came to his senses when I was already far away, so he shouted his dreadful warning at my back. Don't you dare forget again, Antosha. Who gave this child a knife? The aftertaste of horrible water I drank down my mens with lingered in my mouth. My thoughts were focused on Polina. I wandered around the house, feeling intoxicated, and nodded to everything my sister said without trying to discern her words. Olya was talking non-stop, at times lifting up her arms and laughing, only to then suddenly go quiet and give me Mom's signature gnarly look. I was yanked out of the prison of my own mind, where seething thoughts pecked at my brain like harpies, stopping me from coming back to reality. I stared back. Olya looked like a mini version of our mom right now. Well, to be precise, she looked like the person Mom turned into when we moved here, with her intimidating posture and her eyebrows directed towards the ceiling. You weren't listening to me, were you? She tried spitting out those words at me, copying facial expressions of the person she spent almost all of her free time with. For a moment, I felt like the light Olya exuded all those years waned and wavered in the wind of prolonged changes. Very soon, my beautiful princess will turn into the dragon that was once guarding her prison tower. That thought was much scarier to me than any other horror sneaking up to me from the future. Sorry, Olya. I didn't want to make you mad. I just got lost in thought. I looked around the room, my gaze jumping from one object to another like a hungry beast, trying to find anything that could distract her. Let's play the console. Olya pouted, but there was a spark of interest in her small emerald eyes. The Snow Queen's ice shard inside them started thawing. And what about the second controller? It's not working. And Dad has no time to fix it. We can play with the light gun. What do you want to play? Cowboys, ducks? You're better than me at both. Oh, come on. You must have been practicing the whole time I was away from home. Olya burst out laughing. Her heart was warm once again. How did you know? But I'm a good shooter now. You've already lost. You've picked the wrong fight here. Come on, turn it on. Little Olya jumped toward the TV set and, after flicking on the power switch, started blindly feeling around the back side of the photon, trying to plug the console's cable into the antenna input. Bits of TV shows started flashing on the CRT screen when I armed myself with the remote to look for the channel with the sought-after Dandy signal. Did anything interesting happen at home? It was a mundane question for me. I didn't put any actual meaning behind it. But Olya's expression suddenly changed. She lost all the childish nonchalantness she worked so hard to acquire before. What happened, Olya? My sister managed to put in the cable in its place and started brushing off her dust-covered hand. She was clearly looking for the courage to continue the conversation. Mom, Olya went silent, and for a moment I thought I saw tears welling up in her eyes. She had the scary thing happen to her, again. My sister looked at me with wet eyes. She had a fit, huh? This had happened before, but it was a rare occasion. Now that we've moved to this godforsaken place, Mom's fits rose in frequency. Dad brought home a big fish. It was wrapped in newspaper and had a foul smell. Mom got angry again and she took a knife. Olya squirmed, looking fearfully out the window. They started screaming at each other. I froze, imagining my little sister, so small and unnoticeable, standing in the kitchen doorway. She wasn't even trying to hide. Our parents just paid her no mind at all. And then Mom struck it, like this. Oля slightly moved her fist downward, imitating a strike. She hit the fish. It was still alive, Tosha. It must have been in pain. And Mom... It was easy to imagine what happened next. The writhing fish with a blade between its fins squirted some foul-smelling musk into Mom's face. Whenever death got this close to my mom, be it when a person was hit by a bus in front of us and their blood was smeared all over the windshield. Excuse me? When did this happen to you? Why the fuck isn't this family in therapy? Or when Grandma chopped off a chicken's head, Mom would always get into a weird, dreadful fit. Jesus Christ. Her eyes would roll over, she would fall on her face like a freshly cut tree and started writhing just like the agonizing fish, turning over chairs and blurting out bits of scary sentences. What about Dad? Did he help her? Ola shuddered, as if just remembering it pained her. Yes, but at first... He started laughing, Tosha. He let out an evil laugh when he saw that Mom was in trouble. But then he cried. Ola's story made me raise an eyebrow. It seemed like the forest oozing madness had not only completely consumed our mom, but also infected our strong and courageous dad. I quickly stepped toward Ola and locked her in a tight embrace. She dug her face into my chest and I could feel my shirt becoming wet. Why are they bullying each other, Tosha? Are they crazy? I shuddered, unable to justify the actions of our parents. I ran out of words, and all I could do was hug Ola even tighter. What the fuck? Excuse me? Ola screamed and hid behind me. What the fuck was that? How fucking dare you? Oh, that was the cheapest fucking jump scare this entire game. What the fuck was that? Turn it off, quick. No matter how many times she saw this intro, she would always react the same, just like when she sees that owl. I mean, I also got goosebumps every time that ghastly face appeared on the screen, so I immediately complied with my sister's request. What the fuck do you mean? Jesus. Finally, the game selection screen showed up for the cartridge that was bundled with the console. Too bad most of the names here were just different levels of the same game. I picked up the grey rectangular controller and started looking around the pixel letters to find the familiar English word for duck. Background music from the menu soothed Olya's mind and she asked in a calm voice, "How are things at school?" I became friends with a girl. Is she pretty? I got embarrassed. Well, I don't know. Ah, you're red. She must be very pretty. Stop it, Ola. You've got a crush on her. Ola, keep acting like this and I won't play with you. I was joking. Will you introduce us? Maybe. And what's her name? Polina? You turned red again. Where will you live when you get married? Are we playing or not? I plugged the light gun into the second controller port, listening to my sister's laughs. I'll go first. Ooh. Alright. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. Just waiting for something to fucking jump scare me again. Is a fox gonna come out? Oh, I was going easy on you here. Okay. Nice. Oh. I keep getting scared, dude. That's fine. Boo, it's your fault I missed. Okay, final round. I fear. Oh, there you go. You're gonna win it. Ooh, shit. These bitches fast. Ooh! Hot damn. Fuck. That's fine. She deserves to win. Big bro. Bang bang and they're dead. You've lost, Tosha. Hey. I sucked. We cool. My mom only managed to get to me on her third attempt. Anton, there's a call for you. It's a girl. I sobered up in an instant and rushed to the hallway. Watch your step. Grabbed the phone, pressed it into my chest, looking at my mom. She shrugged and went into the room, gathering the toys thrown around by Olya as she went. Hello? Your mom has such a young voice. Well, yeah, I mean, she is young. Are you busy right now? No, of course not. If only she knew how costly this conversation could be for me, what risks I took on just answering this call. There were a pen and a shabby notepad lying on the nightstand. I picked them up and started moving the tip of the pen across the paper, producing chaotic doodles that always ended up turning into hearts. I read your answers. Do you really like Carman? I like Russian rock more, to be honest, but I was too embarrassed to put it in there for some reason. And do you want me to be honest with you too, Antosha? Of course. My pen drew an outline of a girl's face, her eyes, her long eyelashes. Polina spoke in a hushed voice, probably to keep her grandma from hearing. I'm bored to death here. At home? In the village. There's nothing going on here, and if there is, it's always something nasty. And it's not even about the missing kids. There's almost no music here. Don't you have your cassettes? I'm not talking about audio records. I mean, this place's voice. It's not melodic at all. It's rustling like a record player needle. It just squeaks and moans from time to time. It feels uncomfortable, suffocating. I don't know how else to explain this. My pen's tip drafted a house surrounded by tall trees. I think I know what you mean. My little sister says that she feels like a prisoner here. Me too, but I love Grandpa. I don't want to abandon him. Sometimes I just want to escape so badly, somewhere very far away. Into the forest, I thought half-heartedly, to run under the falling snowflakes that make your fur white and the branches that hide you from prying eyes. When I draw, I feel like I'm transported to another place. It's the same for me and the violin. I ran up the bow straight to the sky. I realized I was drawing a butterfly knife and I crossed it over. Thinking of Romkan ruined my mood. Before I could reply, Ola descended the stairs. She was holding up some book in a pink cover, encyclopedia of a young lady. Will you take long? I covered the handset with my hand. I'm in the middle of a conversation. What happened? Read me a bedtime story, please. Mom fell asleep. Go to your room. I'll be there in a minute. Just be quick, okay? Fine. My last reply sounded excessively annoyed. I sighed, watching my sister running up the stairs. Sorry, I need to run. Me too. Thank you for lending an ear. My ear vibrated from the buzzing sounds. Dragged my feet to the second floor, thinking of the girl I shouldn't talk to if I don't want to die from a knife wound. I wish I could tell Dad. Ask for his manly advice. But he doesn't show up home until late at night because of his new job. My parents don't have time for me, to put it lightly. Well, where's your book? I stuttered. The kids' room was empty. Hola? Okay. Let's end this episode here and continue next time. Oof. Sometimes I forget this is a horror game, but then it really like holds no punches reminding me. So, ooh, okay. Gonna end that there. If you liked it, please leave a like on the video. That would mean a lot to me. And thank you so much for hanging out. I will see you super soon with the next part of this episode of Tiny Bunny. So, bye for now.